You can rename it at that point, or
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, it
All
doesn't
right.
matter.
All right.
I usually rename. I usually name ours at that point only because I don't want to have to remember to go rename it later. So,
Right. Right.
but all right. So if we're live, then I'm going to go and
Yeah.
find the link.
All right.
I usually rename. I usually name ours at that point only because I don't want to have to remember to go rename it later.
Oh shit, Chris is having a stroke. He's repeating himself.
And your
Where's that
voice
coming
sounds
from?
weird.
Somebody's got their audio or speakers playing or something. Oh no, I bet that's what happens when you go live and YouTube opens up.
Yeah.
It starts playing it with volume.
All
So
right, I got the link. I'm gonna post it to the
oh cool, man.
I think I did, but maybe you could like put it in that as well.
yeah, no, because yeah, that one was broken. So
Russ is just making sure we don't go live to the entire
Facebook.
universe, like to his kids, like Facebook school Facebook group.
eh,
How'd that happen?
Oh my
Oh, I
gosh.
shared it to the local PTA.
I've never panicked so hard in my life. Like, no. Mhm. Uh-oh.
For those of you who haven't been keeping up, welcome to the Two Grumpy Bastards podcast. And we have the endless ranters here. We have Manny, Chris, and Quana, which is amazing. And I'm
hello.
hearing my echo, but that's all right.
If
No,
YouTube
we
is
can hear it
open,
too.
if YouTube is open in a browser, you got to mute it.
Yeah, mute your YouTube browser, and that way we won't be able to
Right.
hear it.
Amazing.
No one will be able to hear us.
See, you guys are like totally.
I love that you were just gonna roll with it.
Well, it's kind of stupid. It's kind of dumb for YouTube not to recognize that the person that is literally taking this live
Yeah.
doesn't want the volume on.
Right. Right.
we're
That's
gonna-
that.
Just to
That is
hear
that is dumb as
themselves
shit.
in a 5-second delay or whatever. So
I gotta figure out where my boy Russ is. I mean, he kind of fell off,
You
and
didn't send him the link?
I know how much you guys and I love him and his
of course,
grateful opinion. So I wonder where Russ
I
is.
don't know
Here,
where he went.
let me text him. But in the meantime, what's going on, endless ranters?
Well, we're here. We're with you guys, the Two Grumpy Bastards. We're live on your YouTube channel. Did you someone should go to your Two Grumpy Bastards Facebook
Facebook
page
page.
and post it there too, so that all your fans and followers and group members can log in. But yeah, we're the Endless Ranters podcast. We
We
are
do
your
what we want.
friends. We do what we
Yeah,
want, and
motherfuckers.
we appreciate your support. We like to get it
We're
on. We're kind
we're
of
here to
your
get you guys some strikes, some
we're
street creds.
basically, yeah, we're what, like if Koop and Russ in an alternate universe like just didn't decided to just drop out and not join the military and go fight our
Definitely.
enemy, like
Yeah.
and like they just decided to hang out for 30 years and just like drink a lot, do certain
The
things, like
enemy I've been fighting the past couple decades has
joke
come
around a lot.
within, you know.
Yeah,
It's come from within. So
that'd be us. But no, we share. I think, I'm joking because we share a lot of similar worldviews, I think, about what things should be like and why, and the disorder that's so disturbing in our global environment now, and especially in our country. And we kind of come at it from a much less educated, a much less militarily trained point of view, but nonetheless, we have the same goals, I think. So that's why we get along.
Yeah, no,
Anyway, we joke a lot.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I tell people all the time, I don't respect you because you served in the military. I respect you because you love our country.
Mhm.
It's not for everybody. Less than 0.1% of people that grew up actually serve in the military. It's not for everybody. God knows it's not for everybody.
It's
And
crazy to think with a tiny percentage, like it's like point 0.04% of our population is active duty or something like that. It's like some crazy, really disturbing statistic of
Yeah.
what
No, yeah,
percentage
no,
of
I
like
mean,
of adult Americans are active duty military. It's like it's infinitesimal. And I think that most
yeah,
people when they wake up in the morning they're like, "Oh, it's got to be like 10, 30%, 10, 20, 30%, right?"
no, it's
No.
Less than
um
1%.
there are fewer people that serve in the military that claim that they're transsexual. Just to let you know.
What?
Already out the gate, you're coming out hot.
Fewer people.
I am coming in hot. There are many coming in hot. No, there are few people that serve in the military that claim that they are
Oh,
pansexual
okay, I
or
get what you're saying.
transsexual.
Yeah. Yeah, because that number is like 1.7% now, or what, or four, or whatever. Or who knows? It's going up. But
Well, of course, it's going
yeah,
up because it means that look at me, look at me. Oh goodness, look at me. I get some attention now.
celebrity kids are having a having a market impact on the number. But
And maybe we can talk about this. I know on your podcast, um, Endless Ranters, you guys tend towards things that are more, I don't know, banterable. But
Yeah.
what I and Russ and I, we've been friends for a long time, you guys and I. Um, I take things seriously. I really do. And the fact that there's so many people that are coming out as trans or pansexual or any of that kind of thing, it's absolute bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. Um, I am not standing in line to say, oh hey, I want to subsidize your mental illness. I'm not that guy. Um, but but I'm wondering how you guys feel about how much society has shifted, you know, to the left. Everything is 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 like I don't even know how to say it, Chris. Um, Everything is just like it's just like nothing matters anymore. There's no definable words. There's no boundaries. There's no any of that kind of thing. Because I like to get your guys' take on that.
there's a lot of postmodernism going on, and the way I would describe that movement is just a deconstruction of everything that we've known so far. Uh, I don't know that you can kind of like distill it down to left versus right anymore because everything is so perverted and like upside down and inside out, not to get all weird, but it's like that's
No, it
it's
it is
it's
though. It's
really
good and
so.
evil. Like it's
Yeah,
good and it's evil. That if
yeah.
it doesn't make sense, like that's why it doesn't make sense because people want things to make sense. But if somebody just is pure evil and only wants absolute upset in our country, it looks like this. It looks a lot like this.
Yeah, a lot of things that are going on are hard to explain. I look at it from one level. There's one way I look at it is like from a purely like a human interaction, day-to-day interaction level, which is like depressed teenager goes somewhere, is depressed, talks to a counselor. That counselor has a good heart, but doesn't know what to do. This depression in this young person is so confusing and disturbing. It is really disturbing, So they start coming up with crazy ideas on how to treat that person. They start to like, I'm gonna this dog. I told you about. They start to treat this
Who are you
person.
talking to? I know.
My dog is right.
Dog.
My dog is right here, and she's starting to get on my nerves.
I love
But
it.
like they start to like really sympathize with the person, and they like want to help them, and they just start doing crazy things to try to do that. Because we are humans, like we really are sympathetic, and then we sometimes take our sympathy to a real wacky level, and then then we kind of like cross the line where we start encouraging people to just do things that are bad for them. I don't know where I'm going with this, but it's like it's
No,
really
I hear it.
it's hard to tell.
I hear you.
And I see, so at that level, it's like, you hear these stories of parents that um have their kids telling them these things, and they're accountants, you know, and they're not prepared to hear their kid tell them that they're this and that and they're going to kill themselves and all this kind of stuff, and they're not prepared to like defend themselves against the medical industry, which is
Right.
against them.
'Cause there's so
And
much money in it.
their doctor, their pediatrician maybe isn't evil, but he's also up against the medical industry who's
Yeah.
pretty much against him too, or her, whatever. And but then it crosses a line to where now I look at it at a level to where now there's gonna people have started to realize they can build buildings on this stuff,
Yeah.
you know, and they can like become extremely like incredibly wealthy.
Wait,
So
what do you
much
mean?
money.
Trans buildings?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
wings of hospital. That's how
Oh,
wings of
Yes.
hospitals get built. Like
Gotcha,
Yeah.
gotcha.
they don't have like a pediatric chemotherapy wing on a hospital because it's a money loser. You know,
Yeah.
they have it because it's a money maker. And
Exactly.
we can't build this building fast enough. Like,
It's so much money.
so when
I think
like the
that
trans
trans
stuff, it's
exists.
turned a
Trans
corner.
exists, and they've made it into something that it's not. Trans people exist, just like uh everything exists. Gay people, all of the things exist. I think that they've just made it to where they've found a money loop in it where they can
Mhm.
give these children
Profit off of them.
Lupron Depot, which is like this drug, Lupron Depot. They use it in women that have endometriosis, and it literally like deteriorates your bones. I know 30-year-olds that have double hip replacements from taking Lupron Depot because a lot of doctors make that the first step because it stops your periods. It makes your hormones blocked, and they're giving it to children. Like
Yeah,
it's just
fucked
the
up.
saddest thing. It's so fucked up.
So
Trans people
It's hard
do
to say what it
exist.
is because it's so many things. It's so many things at the same time. This whole trans phenomenon or culture movement, whatever you want to call it, like
Right.
it's so many things at the same time, and most of them are very, very bad, and very few of them are like actually trying to help those kids cope and not kill
No.
themselves, and then eventually
Right.
turn 18 and 20 and 21
It's just like
and grow
talking
out and just grow
points.
out of it.
Right.
But there's so much money in not letting them grow out of it. Like
Exactly.
being passive as a counselor or like is like that doesn't make a lot of money.
It's
Like
horrible.
like exploring like major surgeries and lifelong pharmaceutical treatments. That's
Forever.
that pays that buys boats.
Yes, it
I,
That
I
pays
does.
I I
for
totally get where you're coming from, Chris, because there was like 6 months there where I was like so attracted to you, and I was like, okay, that's not true. That's not true at all. But no, I think these are children. They're confused, and I mean, I with my background, having been sexually abused, it would have been really clear, if having gone through what I went through, I probably would have been talked into be like, oh yeah, you're gay, and you probably should do this and that. Well, I didn't, and I'm glad because I like chicks and I like vaginas. Um, it took me a long time to get around to that, but that's exactly the answer. It took me a long time to get around to that. And I think you have to allow these kids to go through what they go through. I honestly, I don't know. Quana, you said a couple of things that kind of struck my chord there. I really think
Ditto.
I really think that you have to allow kids to be kids and go through their development and
Yeah.
just fuck off as adults and quit trying to manipulate what they think they're going through because it's confusing. It's fucking confusing. It's
You have
terrible.
children?
No, 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 ma'am, I don't. But I have been in the honor of, been a coach and been in front of other people's kids and raised other people's kids partially, and I love that, and I see it in their faces. You know, I'm never
Well,
going to
there
say.
are kids. There are kids that are born that feel different. They don't feel comfortable in the skin that they're born in.
Okay.
That is something that exists. The same as
Sure.
the girl, the two-headed girl that just married that dude. Like she exists. You know,
Didn't her
Lobster
sister
Boy,
get
he
married?
exists. Like I'm
They,
not
they
saying that
them.
trans is like a
Wasn't it
freak
they them?
show, but they fucking exist. So to act like they don't exist in real life is crazy. Has Big Pharma monopolized on the trans tragedy? Absolutely. Have we as Americans been programmed to hate trans people? 100%.
Drag
A
queens
lot
did
of
that.
men, yeah, I think a lot of men struggle with their sexuality, and I think trans is very fucking confusing and it makes men mad. That's a separate issue. But to say that it doesn't exist or that whatever, like it's not right.
No,
And it is a thing.
it certainly exists. It certainly exists, and
And they
my
should have respect. And I think that people that are passable, that's all a trans person just wants to pass in the body that they feel on the inside. Like they just want to pass.
and I got no
Some do,
problem with
some
that.
don't.
I
Who
got no problem with
cares?
that. Where I draw the line is with these narcissistic motherfuckers who think they were born a dude and they should be able to compete with women in sports and
Yeah.
all that kind of thing.
So
Yeah,
hard
and
to
I
draw
think
the
people
line.
exactly.
It really,
It's just
that is the,
narcissism. It's just narcissism. That's all it is.
yeah, in some cases for sure. Yeah. I mean, but it's so hard when you talk about these issues publicly. And that's why they're getting away with the shit they're getting away with, because it is such a difficult, that's why the medical industry can just build buildings and trans kids and chop up and experiment on kids, because it is such a difficult thing to talk about, because it's very hard to define the line between trying to help a confused 12-year-old,
Right.
10-year-old, whatever, who maybe was abused or maybe was just born like with just the chemicals got mixed up or whatever, and the movement, as we say, the movement, which is like the people on TV, all the advocates, the people that are there, he is, the
Russ,
movement.
About
There's a
goddamn
difference.
time.
There's a difference between the movement, that helping a child who's 10 and struggling, who just needs time, and the movement, which is just like, oh no, that kid needs pharmaceuticals, surgery, surgical intervention.
Very profitable.
And it's really hard
Very
because
profitable.
as humans, I think that the vast majority of humans are good. They live their life waking up every morning like not wanting to hurt people, but we have a hard time understanding that there's a very small percentage of humans that do wake up every morning thinking, I got to get mine, and I don't give a damn who I hurt or who I have to chop up on the table.
Quit talking about Joe Biden.
Yeah, that's him.
Oh,
like
he's
that.
only
That's like,
thinking about soft
it's
serve.
really hard. It's hard for us to like. That's why I think like,
Come
to
on,
talk about
man.
another taboo like child pornography, like child trafficking. That is so hard to talk about because it's really hard for most humans to realize at least in 2024, maybe not 100 years ago, but it's really hard for humans to realize the evil
that
in
exists.
some places, some corners of the human heart where people can do these things. So it's really hard to like take it seriously and also like go to sleep at night that there's
That's how they
monsters out there.
debunk conspiracy theories. They're like,
Chris.
oh, they're not meeting at Bohemian Grove and sacrificing children. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
Chris,
because it's so hard to imagine. Yeah, yes, sir.
Hey, so how do I'm getting a whole bunch of fucking texts here. How do I link this back to my Facebook page so people can join us live?
I posted it in your Facebook group.
Did you?
In Grumpy Bastards? Yeah, I posted the
Okay.
link there. Oh no, you have to approve it. You have to approve it though.
That group is on lockdown. That is the most lockdown.
Yeah,
Chris.
Russ can take over while
For
you
real.
approve that post if you want.
That is
Hey,
so mean. That is so mean, Chris.
First of all,
really
sorry
mean.
I'm late. I didn't see the link and everything. Hey, Chris, one thing I want to slightly take issue with
Mhm.
what you just said is
Shocker.
yeah. The way I view most people is that they're apathetically good. They're kind of leave them alone, and
Sure.
it's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
on a default. But I also, depending on what you deem evil, maybe this is too cynical. I'm kind of the Joker school of thought on this, that most people are only as good as the world allows them to be. And if the chips are down, a lot, not everybody, but a lot of the civilized people will simply eat each other.
I agree with you. Yeah, I probably took it a little bit too far in that because, yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I probably took it a little too far because I do believe that, and I think what you're seeing now in like the migrant crisis is that when you have large groups of human beings like hiding out in a New York City like shithole apartment whatever that they've squatted in, and there's no law enforcement and there's just no rules,
Mm-hmm.
like they're not even citizens, they've left their country, they're just like living in this weird limbo space, that really, really terrible things happen there. When human beings have no limits and they get into these situations, whether it's like a crack den or whether it's like a child trafficking, like a just a human trafficking uh, shithole building in New York City that's being used by human traffickers to like move migrants through, like that's where some really terrible things happen. And I'm sure you guys have seen it, like when you guys were overseas and you're seeing areas that are completely lawless to the point where Americans can't even imagine it, like that, some
Yeah, lawless to the point where
horrendous,
it's strength rules. And
yeah,
if
that
somebody,
there's no morality there, like morality is gone, like morality
it's
is a human construct at that point,
maybe
and it's like
morality is dependent on the strongest person in the
what
group.
you're allowed to do. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So
So
if
so
these like in
so
these like hovels and these like crack dens or like illegal migrant dens that are finding, it's like, yeah, they're just, there are no limits, there are no laws. They're allowed to do whatever they want to
so
do, and
so
they're
imagine
finding
imagine
terrible things.
imagine this, Chris. Imagine this, Chris. And that's and this is what I try to get through analogy to a lot of people in this country. They don't get it. Imagine busing into a house and you slip and fall because there's human turds that are taking your tread away from you. I mean, like literally, there's human feces every 6 fucking inches.
Manny, you gotta put some trigger warnings on this fucking podcast, bro. Like, what
No,
the fuck?
but I
Seriously.
mean, Russ
Trigger
Russ
warnings?
has
Are
been
we
there.
kidding?
Russ has been there too. Imagine that. Imagine
Oh
that for a
yeah.
second, and busting through and going, I can't even keep my feet because I'm tripping on human feces because that's how they live. And then you try to integrate and you come back to the country that we live in and try to be a good person and all that.
Yeah.
That's just that's simple. I mean, that's not even close to how bad it is. But imagine that.
Mhm. Yeah, man, it's if I could reiterate, I'd just say like most people wake up in the morning and they cannot comprehend the evil that's out there. They don't want
They're
to.
sheltered.
They don't want to, and because if they did, they might have to like come to terms with whatever small part they might play in that, with the
Yeah.
shithead they voted for, or the policies that they just didn't
Oh,
really care about, or
it's
and the
really it's really
apathy.
easy to feel good about the politics that you feel good about until when you actually have to find out what politics is actually like. Russ and I have been there. We've been there. We've seen it. And I mean it's really 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 important that people understand that. It's like, all right, your entire life has been Starbucks and fucking the internet and Instagram. But
Yeah,
there's people that actually figured out what life is actually like when it's not that. And it's
I think,
terrible.
yeah,
I've
You know
I
what
always
I
think
mean?
been
that
one
I don't know
to.
if you ever watched. Well, I'm sure you have, Coop, the Doctor Strange movie, the original, the first one, where the Ancient One says, and this holds true to this one, is, if I was to show you everything you didn't already know, you'd run screaming from here in terror.
Sure. Yeah.
That's saying something.
That's how I feel when I know all of the fucking rabbit holes that I've been diving down for the past since 2014. Like I've been screaming the things about the chemtrails and the cloud seeding, and people are like, "You're fucking crazy.
I started
You
watching.
dumb bitch. You're
We don't
so
need to go down
fucking
this road because
crazy."
Russ is not going to be a nice guy on this.
The
I
fuck?
started. I was watching like the first 20 minutes of that Tucker Carlson Joe Rogan Experience interview this evening, and yeah, Tucker
Yeah,
said something.
it's good. It's good. It's
Tucker
really good.
said, but along the lines of like going down all those rabbit holes that just like Tucker said something about how he stopped, like he was learning about certain, then he just kind of stopped because he realized it's not good for me. It's not good for me.
I need to catch this one. I haven't seen this particular Joe Rogan one. The last one I saw,
I don't know if it
actually
applies
was a little bit
100%,
annoyed at Joe.
but it made me. It was kind of,
Russ, watch it. It's actually I was actually really pleasantly surprised about how Tucker Carlson was very, very honest about his life and everything that he's been through.
Wait,
I think you'll like it.
I'll definitely check it out. My last one, I can't remember the guest's name, but Joe Rogan was not quite a Hamas apologist, but basically saying that Israel was doing too much in the war, and killing too many people. And I got kind of annoyed and had to turn him off.
he is kind of a fence sitter, to be fair. And I guess you kind of have to be for that platform. You kind of have to be and have all these guests,
Yeah, one of the places where I actually yelled at my phone as I was listening to it when he was like, "There's got to be a better way." I'm like, "Well then, dickhead, explain to us what the better way is. If you say there's a problem, it is your duty. It is incumbent on you to tell us what the better way is. Otherwise, shut the hell up."
He has a platform where people will, like, millions of people will watch 4-hour interviews. So you have a platform
it's usually great. It was just that he's one of these naive peaceniks that seems to think there's moral equivalence on stuff. And even if he says, well, Israel shouldn't have been attacked, he's like, well, there's got to be a better way than blowing up, all of these people in the Gaza Strip. And I'm like, well, then tell us what it is. Because otherwise your solution seems to be Israel sit there and take it. And that kind of naivete about warfare in general really gets on my nerves. Because it demonstrates that they do not have a realistic view of the world.
Russ, you probably saw my post because we pay attention to each other. For those that you don't know, Russ and I are friends, and we served together in the Army, and we have a podcast, which we're on right now. But I, I would, Chris and Kwana and my friend Mole over there. Love you, but I'm gonna be honest with you for a second.
Oh shit!
I would turn the fucking entire area into glass if I could. I'd turn it into glass because I don't have any respect for those people. I don't. I am not a, oh hey, the Palestinian people. No, there's no such thing. The Israelis have put up with so much fucking shit.
So much more than we would have.
And I am 100% behind the Israeli people. So Russ doesn't even know this. I'm going to reveal this.
Uh-oh.
I had a love affair with a girl from the Israeli Defense Force when I was overseas, and she was amazing. And I think she probably could have kicked me my ass in a straight up fight. I mean, she was a badass. I'm a Jew lover. I am. I think that anything that they do to defend themselves, I am completely behind. So, politics aside, I'm just gonna shed that on you right now. There's no such thing as Palestine. There's no such thing. It doesn't exist. The Israeli people are the only people in that region of the world who for 3,000 years has the same name, the same nation, and the same God. And so I am very, very, very pro-Israel.
I hope you're talking to your audience or new audience members, because I mean, it's like you're kind of preaching to the choir. The only thing possibly offensive about that is that you're preaching to the choir. Like, yeah, My only change, my only thing way I would change that is like I would encourage them to turn each other into glass. Like we don't need to do it.
Well,
Like, why do we
you're
need
right,
to
we're
do it?
not, we're actually, but
Hmm.
we're not doing it now. They have, we
Like
are
they can
selling
turn
them.
each other into glass. Like it's not our responsibility.
You're
Like
right, but
Israel,
we're not putting troops on the ground. We're not putting any kind of forces there. We are selling them stuff, and that's fine. But the whole point that Israel is making is get out of our way and let us handle it. And I'm more than happy to do that. Unfortunately, we have a lot of folks in the country that seem to think they need to dictate, because it's too mean of what's
well,
going on.
I guess it's I think the principle there is like so off the bat, I'm all for, and I said it day one, I said it October 7th, Israel should eliminate Palestine. I said it, right? Because you're at war and you have an enemy and they're trying to kill all of you. And so you should just please get it done. And part of the reason I said that is because I'm kind of tired of hearing about it. I'm
Well,
tired of hearing about it. I'm tired of my kids hearing about it. I'm tired of hearing about this conflict dominating American news. So
yeah.
I'm kind of like,
Can I
let's
weigh
get
in
this
on that real
over with.
quick? On that real quick, Chris. This has been a problem ever since the end of World War II. Is
Oh yeah, it goes
the
way but
access?
way beyond my lifetime. But yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
no.
I'm tired of
I'm
it.
not talking about the problem in Israel and Palestine. I'm talking about the problem of people growing tired of seeing war. Because only since the end of World War II have we had access to mass media that lets people actually see how shitty war can be. Most people
Now,
prior
my
to
point
that
is I'm
did
trying to
not
like I
know
want them to
unless they
make
had
it
firsthand
faster and
experience
make it
what
over.
war was.
Yeah, I don't know what your point is because I'm like
I'm not on you.
I'm
I'm just
I
saying that most
I
my
encourage
thing
them
is
to
more
make
in
it go
general.
way faster. Like I agree 100%. So I'm in the school like the faster this can be over with, even though it might be really it's going to be real painful, real ugly. The
Yeah.
faster it can be over with, the better it is for all of humankind.
Yeah. Look, my point was not at you. I understand that.
Yeah.
My point
I
is,
just don't want to have to pay for it like forever
yeah, but
because like that's the deal they're proposing is that we have to pay for this forever to like keep some fake peace. Just like let them fight it out. Let them fight it out.
yeah, well,
Let them fight it out.
my thing is more to people in general. I'm not, like I said, this
Yeah.
is not
Okay.
directed at you. People in general do not have the stomach for what war is, to the point where they don't even like to see it. They don't
Yeah.
like to see it. They don't like to read about it in the news because it upsets them. Going back to the
Those
point that you made
dumbasses are
earlier
going to
about
have their kids and grandkids
like
drafted.
like
You
an
know,
like an
that's
apathetic, almost like an apathetic goodness that we're talking about. It in general upsets them. I don't believe we could fight World War II today with the mass
oh,
media that we have. We
hell no.
certainly couldn't fight the Civil War the way we did with
We would
access to
still
mass media.
if we had the mass media today, we would still be British subjects.
That's probably true.
Straight up. We would they would be like George Washington is a terrorist. That was what CNN would be telling us.
Yeah, or
100%.
it would be like we need to give them breathing room as we are outside of Berlin.
Because it's
We've
No,
proven our
you
point.
Fight a
I think
war
this is
with the
true
kids that
because
we have
like
in our country, though?
the
Could
media
you like?
the media in England at that time was like these fuckers are terrorists. That's what they were saying about us, but they just didn't have CNN.
Right.
They didn't have the bandwidth or the airwaves to. But yeah, we would have been like it would never happened. We would have never happened. And
have
yeah,
have
you're
you
right. World War II would have never. We would have never fought
have
World
you
War
guys
II.
have you guys watched John Adams?
I
The
have. Yeah, yeah.
I did it about a decade ago.
It's
yeah,
been
yeah, thanks. Yeah, thanks there, bro. But it it tells you what a man of integrity was back in the day, right? I mean, it starts when him defending the British, um, you know,
At the
shooting.
Boston Massacre.
Right, right. It starts off with
yeah.
that and him having his problems with his cousin who was Sam Adams, well, the famous beer and all that kind of thing. But you look at I really Russ remembers this about me when I was teaching American history and military history to these fucking kids that had no idea about anything. It's like you make a good choice. it doesn't matter about politics or anything like that. You make a choice. You make a choice. You have integrity, you have honor. And that entire thing about I want everybody in the world to watch that miniseries John Adams, because it's 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 beautiful about how he was really torn apart about those choices that he made, but he made the right choice. He made the right choice every time. Was he
Good.
right defending those British soldiers who defended themselves and shot? Yeah, he was. He was. And despite the fact that it got him, you know, a lot of people that hated him and even his cousin and all that, but he was right. He was right. Um, what
That movie
happened to that?
Amistad. Remember that movie Amistad?
Yeah, what happened to being right? I guess is my
Yeah.
point. What happened to
It
being right?
happens to me all the time. I don't know what the fuck
They
you're
do.
doing.
Yeah, that's kind of I've heard that this discussion of like how things used to be in the legal system versus how things are today. And I do hear that example of John Adams being brought up, or the founders. And I remember that movie Amistad, where the white attorney was defending like the slaves that were, like slaves that were
Right,
treated
right.
poorly on that ship and whatever. That was like a real eye opener,
Yeah,
because
except
that is some integrity, like right there. Like,
well, the difference, the problem is though, as good a movie as Amistad was, it was highly fictionalized based on what
I
was
was
going
gonna say
on.
Hollywood's telling you
okay,
exactly what
okay.
they want you to be conditioned to believe.
The
So do you want to
That's
throw?
every
Okay, do
single
you want to
movie
throw
you're
it all out? But it's like that. Sometimes
So
Hollywood
so we
makes
know that
people think about things.
Quana is she's a racist, so we all know that. So I
I
just
am.
But the point, like
I am. My
I
blood's
think you could
pure.
make a,
Fuck all
I,
you motherfuckers.
I think you can make an argument, and you can make an argument, in Hollywood that the John Adams miniseries came about because of the popularity of that movie Amistad.
Maybe, but it was
Like
but the book,
I think that's
the
true.
biography that was
I don't know that those two things are tied
They're
together. I
both
don't.
on
I
the
H.
don't
They're
bi
both HBO.
yeah, but
Uh,
the biography that the John Adams miniseries was based on, or the series, the John Adams series, was a book that actually was historically accurate. Amistad was a great movie, but it was the disputes in the movie were not actually what was fought out in court. It made some great points, but John Adams, from his actual biographies that were written about him, he actually made those choices. The Amistad thing was more legal wrangling over process than about
yeah,
the individual dignity of human beings, which is a good argument, especially today, but it wasn't the one that was actually made back then.
I'm just saying the popularity of that movie and the themes, points it made that were valid, even though it was maybe fictional in many ways, paved the way for a real, like, for HBO saying, "Oh, people are very interested in this. People are very interested in these old school lawyers in the beginning of our country. Um, I don't know, fighting for, having integrity."
Or they want to get
And
white
even though
people
it's
fired
incredibly
up.
unpopular,
have
even though it's
have
incredibly unpopular, even though it's, whatever, that they did it, they defended.
have any of you seen the biopic of Benjamin Franklin with Michael Douglas? Have any of
No,
you
Can't
seen
say
that?
that I have, no.
Yeah,
No.
I'm not really like, oh, that's gonna be great. But Benjamin Franklin, arguably, is one of the greatest Americans that's ever lived. You look at his contributions to, invention, and his contributions to our ability to engage the French in the independence and all that kind of thing. I'm interested in seeing that. I'm really interested in seeing how Michael Douglas it wouldn't be my guy to play him, because Benjamin Franklin is one of the greatest human beings that's ever lived, honestly.
The
uh
I'll
John
say, like,
Adams.
just to kind of get into like what I was saying before, like, I would not be surprised if some of the things I was taught about Benjamin Franklin, who I agree with you, yeah, one of the greatest Americans ever.
and a big horn dog too.
but like
I was gonna say I
wouldn't
held
be
my
sur-
tongue about Michael
He was
Douglas. I was like,
he was
I
a
really
total horn
wouldn't.
dog. He was a total horn dog.
I wouldn't be surprised if many of the things that they taught us in the 1970s at Kearney Elementary were not true about him. But even if it is, even if it was fictionalized about him, like the lore, right?
yeah,
Legend,
Look,
lore, like
look,
that adds to a country. We can't be a country of just like
Quana is
everything has to be
happily married,
factual.
and Quana's happily married, and we all get that. But I think she would have fucking done Ben Franklin. I'm just
Wow.
saying.
well, I'm sure he was into Child Bride. So if my mother had married me off to him, I would have been into him.
He was famous in France for some of the stuff he was doing. So maybe putting Michael Douglas there was the right idea because I mean, how much younger than him is Catherine Zeta-Jones?
Exactly, and the throat cancer. He's not even strong enough to withstand a little cunnilingus.
I will tell everybody that my Brandy girl looks like Catherine Zeta-Jones with like if she was possessed. Like she's kind of like an evil version of her stepsister. So
Who's this brandy gal that you're speaking of?
Yeah, Manny's
Yeah.
like, what?
my girlfriend, yeah,
Okay.
Brandy.
Your gal pal.
Yeah,
The one
she
that done the intro to our podcast.
yeah,
Gotcha.
if you hear that voice,
That's
in
who
the
that
intro to
is.
our podcast, that's her.
Okay.
It's her.
Did we lose Chris?
No, I think he probably either went to go handle his dog or went to go start a fire or something. I don't know. He should be back.
Grab a cocktail, maybe.
Yeah, he
Another-
probably went to freshen up his drink. He'll do that from time to time.
So Quana, what do you got going on back behind you there, sweetheart? You got like looks like a fake
It's just-
fire going on behind you there.
Yeah, that's a big fire.
Yeah, that's kind of your jam, huh?
Just like the olden days during the colonial times, everybody sits around and watches fire.
Yeah, I don't have a fireplace. It's troublesome in the winter, but it's fine.
As opposed
Yeah.
to Manny whose whole room is on fire.
Exactly.
Constantly.
What neighborhood do you live in Sacramento? What neighborhood do you live in?
I've told you before, and I'd just rather not say when we're live, but
Yeah,
Well, nobody's gonna find you, for fuck's sake.
yeah, because my name's so uncommon.
I think that Koop, I think that I remember what she was saying before,
Yeah.
but we've both been there. We've both been to that
It
area.
was 81 degrees and hot as all of the things today in April, 81. Yeah.
And Chris is back.
Talk about weather now.
Yeah.
We were talking about
Oh, you
California weather, which California in and of itself was some of the hottest I remember. There was Coop. I don't remember how much you experienced this, but I believe it was I want to say it was summer of either 05 or 06 where it was so hot there the air conditioning couldn't keep it below like 82.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
then
sure.
you're like, that happens in Texas, and then you call your AC guy, and he comes out and he explains to you that it's only physically possible for the air conditioning unit to cool the temperature by X number of degrees. Like
Yeah.
it
Go
can't
put your
take
ass in some water.
like it can't turn 200 into 63. Like it
Yeah.
can only take
Yeah.
200 to like 190 or
Yeah.
Well,
90 to
Tennessee,
80.
in certain parts of Tennessee, it don't get much better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
I mean, add the humidity
Yeah.
on top of it, and you
I
walk
always say
outside, and it's
we're-
like you're already sprayed with a water gun or something.
We are fragile beings. If our grid goes down and it's hot as fucking, in our neighborhood, it's gonna be hot.
Well, that's
Be
one of
interesting.
the points I've always made. Been making over the last couple of years is for everybody who enjoys like The Last of Us and The Walking Dead and all this other stuff. Most of
Yeah.
y'all would absolutely die during an apocalypse. Just look how people react when the power goes out.
You should see me walk
Oh,
my
when a
dog when
package is
it's
late.
68 degrees. I have on like a parka. I have on like an over thing that kind of covers the back of my legs. I have
like-
on my Ugg boots. I have on gloves. Put my hat on. I have a hoodie.
Yeah, that's like
I'm
the
pretty
folks that
sure
when I was
I'll
in
be
Hawaii.
I'm
We got
pretty
down to,
sure
like,
I'll be
65
okay.
in Hawaii. They were in
I know
parkas.
you'll be okay because you
I'm
can
pretty
start
sure
a
I'll be
fire. I can too. I have a lot
Well,
of lighters, but
Yeah, because it gets hot as hell here. I mean, it'll be a Saturday afternoon in Texas in July. It's 114 degrees. I'm out there mowing my lawn. I got 12 beers in me, and everything's good. Fully
Yeah, there's
functioning.
no beers. There's no beers. You're also detoxing from alcohol because there's no
What?
beers. If the grid goes down, you think they're keeping beers somewhere? Do you have like how many 30s do you have on hand?
I think she's talking about going back to my comment about how people react during a power outage.
The panic on grid. Because I got to go to Walmart.
I'll
Be
see you
right
guys
back.
later. I'll see you guys later.
I gotta stock
check.
up on ice.
I'll see y'all later. Take care.
Oh my god.
Just kidding. All right, I'm gonna have to start making my own alcohol.
Welcome back. Hey, Chris is gonna become a moonshiner is what we're learning from all this.
Just
That's
happened
how
right
NASCAR
there.
started.
Can we get in this podcast so I can start Googling moonshine? How to make moonshine?
Well, you're gonna need a still or two.
Hey, Chris, get offline with me, and I'll happy to teach it, bro.
Good night, baby. Love you. Yeah, that's the problem. I don't know.
Hey, so what else do we want to talk
Well,
about?
no,
Joe Biden's
but
uncle getting eaten by
okay. Here's my
crocodiles?
rationalization: is that like that's just how I know I will survive when there's no AC. Is because I can.
Me too. I love being
can
hot too.
withst-
But
I
what
can
about when it's
withstand-
cold?
I can withstand extreme and cold too. I'll
Okay.
start a fire with anything.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, but that's the point. Yeah. There won't be 30 packs of Miller Lights.
Nope.
There won't be flush toilets.
But it will be hot. There'll be no AC. I'll be fine.
It'll be very smelly. There'll be no food.
I'll be up
No
on the
flush
roof.
toilets, no antibiotics.
You might
No
have neighbors
food,
fighting
salt,
you to
yeah.
sell your children.
I'll be up on the roof, scoping the entire neighborhood. That's all. Just keeping
Your
an eye
Korean
out.
genes just fight it, like perk up. It's
Yep.
possible. Possible.
That's when we go. That's when we go 1990s Los Angeles.
I should just like figure out how to make a cyanide pill and put that on the internet. Like you can purchase a
Wow, this got
cyanide
dark
pill.
really fast.
She likes to take it there, you know.
Yeah, I'm not down. Like
You can't
I've
help
already
yourself.
told. Like when the shit goes down and like someone's just like, I don't want to live anymore. I'm just like, okay.
Yeah.
Like I'm not. You're not gonna find
Off
an
you go.
argument. I'm not
Go
gonna
to Canada,
argue.
motherfucker. See ya.
Yeah, it was like, I
Yeah.
mean, I'm sure most of y'all remember what it was like during the Cold War. I had a buddy of mine whose dad told him that if nuclear war ever broke out, they were all going to get in the car and drive towards downtown Charlotte so they'd be in the center of the blast and not have to worry about surviving.
Yeah.
Well, you know, at least had a plan.
I get that. I get that logic,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I'm a human being, and I gotta just there's just something that I just want to survive. I want to survive. I want my genes to live on. I'm not down with that. I'm not.
In
No,
the
I'm not.
apocalypse of all places, of all settings,
Yeah, I mean, a pretty good chance that my son will be the president. Yeah, like
all shark killer. He'll
I've
take care of business.
said for years, put me in that scenario with the way that you civilians think warfare's conducted. I will rule that place like with an iron fist.
yeah, I believe you. I believe you, Negan.
I don't doubt it.
No, but it's like I'm not down with the whole like. Well, we should just drive towards the flame, drive towards the
Right.
epicenter. Like, nah, it might be rough. It might be like a rough 6 months until I melt, but I'm gonna make a go of it. But mostly because I like to laugh. You know what I mean? I'd be making
Shit's
jokes.
still going down in Chernobyl. They're fine.
I'd be like,
it's
I'd be like,
fine.
hey man,
Elon
I'd be like,
Musk
hey
says it's
Manny,
fine.
What's
I'd
up?
be like, hey Manny, your ear just fell off. Ah, look at that. Look at that, you freak.
I
Like
was
you
all ears at one point.
post nuclear freak. You know, like
Yeah, but Manny would be like that guy in the Twilight Zone episode that had all the books that he was going to be able to read until he
I
broke his
had
glasses.
time now.
yeah. Then they'll find out like that, like all his anime novel like tomes were like had nuclear protection.
Koop?
I think so.
Oh,
Did we lose him completely?
No,
or
probably,
did he
like-
just like mute himself? Because I know when I mute myself, it goes away, right? It just
That's what
goes to four
happens.
screens. Okay.
probably take a leak.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I hope so. I
Sometimes
hope
you
we
gotta take a
didn't.
leak.
I
When
hope we
people
didn't
disappear
drive
off a
him-
Zoom, when people disappear off a Zoom call, whether it be work or fun related, it's because they had to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, well, it also the Zoom or Teams calls remind me of, like the old seance. You're all there. Hey, Quana, can you hear us? Can you hear us?
Yeah, we should break out. There should be like a Ouija board
Oh,
a
yeah,
Ouija
I don't
board
fuck with that.
Zoom option.
No, not for
Break
me.
that out in the middle.
No, sir. Pass.
I think Coop might have like actually left our meeting and
Oh no.
ended this because it says preparing live stream up above.
I still see the thing for YouTube above mine.
Oh no.
Let me go check the internet and see if we're
This has been a technological wonder.
Gross.
it's a learning
Night.
experience.
Yeah.
This 10 seconds of silence brought to you by Marcel Marceau.
Let's see. No, we're still live, it says.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's
All
still
right,
probably
maybe
there.
he's just using the bathroom.
Yeah.
He just
He
I don't
could
know
have
how to
been.
use the
I'll,
notes either. I don't know how to use the notes. I know that some people are like, oh, I gotta go to the bathroom. You just have to assume that I have to go to the bathroom. If I'm gone, it's because I have to go
All
to
the
the bathroom.
time.
Yeah.
I,
Oh, look
I've
at my
I've intentionally
puppy.
been making myself use the bathroom more over the last month or so, because I remember it was the Saturday night near the end of spring break, and this is going to sound kind of graphic at first, but I'm going somewhere. I'm starting to feel I'm like, do I have like a UTI or something? And then about an hour later, it felt like someone was following behind me with a crescent wrench, twisting my balls and punching me in the back, and I had a massive kidney stone. So I've been
Oh,
I've been drinking lots more water recently to make sure that those don't form.
Yeah, less
That was
Yeah,
my
sand,
man.
third one, and
buddy.
it was the most painful that I have ever had. I'm not lying about that
Oh,
crescent wrench wrapped around my balls being twisted.
That sounds awful.
That happened to my kid's dad right after I left him. And I had to go see him in the hospital. And when I tell you the
You were
pain that
glad
he
he was in
was in,
you're like, do
when
you mind
I
if I
left,
record this?
when I left the hospital, I was like, oh my gosh. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Remember that part when I
He's
was
lucky
saying
that
like, remember that part like 5 minutes ago when I was saying that if nuclear war happens, I'm gonna like really try to survive, even if it's a terrible 6 months. Well, let me tell you, if I got that kind of pain, I'm gonna be like telling the doctor to like kill me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
that was
it
I'm
was
not down with the dick
something.
pain. Like,
No.
no, just kill me. Just kill me. Kill
that's
me
not
now.
that's
Like
not where your
that's when
pain
that's
is.
where I give up. That's where I give up.
Yeah,
Or ball
it was.
pain. Like, no, man.
That was my third one in the last 20 years, and pain
Yeah,
does
you
not
gotta stop
do it
drinking
justice.
soda, no juice. Get off the
this
juice. You
bums
don't need
this
Well,
this
juice.
this
it's a lot of it's sodium because the sodium actually leaches the calcium out of your bones.
uh-huh.
Right.
And
What are you drinking? Do you have a filter on your house?
I mean, no, I drink water, but I just wasn't drinking a lot of water. I was
Sodas.
I was making some food that's got a lot of salt in it, and I was dehydrated and I hadn't had one in a while, and it just kind of happened. But I stay super hydrated now to make sure that hopefully it doesn't happen. It's got me
That's
kind of
good.
paranoid now.
Yeah, man.
That's good.
It's got me paranoid too. It's never even happened to me, but I'm like just
Christopher's like,
this
okay, drink more water and
Got it,
stock
got
up on
it.
30 packs.
this topic bums me out almost as much as like not having Miller Lights in post apocalypse.
Well,
You got
but
range there,
remember,
Christopher.
mankind's been figuring out how to make beer for a couple thousand
Yeah.
years, so you can probably
Yeah.
figure it
Yeah.
out.
I need to figure out.
Yeah.
It won't be
It's not gonna-
Yeah,
quality,
why
but,
aren't you making your own light beer?
It's not going to be as
Extremely light
refreshing.
beer.
I mean, it's because like why build a better mousetrap when it's that.
Well, it's not just that. It's
Maybe
like you'll be whatever you do build post-apocalypse. It's not like you're gonna be able to put it in the fridge.
Yeah, I'm
you're
gonna
gonna be drinking it warm.
Yep.
find other ways to alter myself, alter reality. I guess when I
Yeah, mushrooms,
there
hopefully.
you go.
well, the
man.
Native Americans did it.
Will become abundant.
Yeah, be like my kids will be out there like foraging. Like, are these mushrooms okay? I don't know.
Let's find out about an hour.
Well, I don't know if you heard about this one, Chris. This is a random story that I heard about several years back about a Korean family that came over to the United States, and the grandmother went to the hills because she was used to picking mushrooms and picked mushrooms and put them in her family's meal and
Oh
picked the
my
wrong
God,
kind, and they all died.
Oh, wow.
I wish the Korean half of my family would do some psychedelic, not die, but like do some mushroom to like trip out a little bit. You know what I mean? They might loosen them up a bit.
Maybe
I
I need to
wish,
check
but
with
yeah.
Koop and find out what's going on.
Oh man, he's got a new dog too. So there's just you never know.
It's the perfect confluence of events. have come
That's true.
together.
It suggests
But
is what it is.
back to the beginning, like I really hope Israel like just gets this done. Like I really like it's not. I do actually like Israel. I have kind of a like a Christian appreciation for that country, those people, but I try to like not. I try to keep that out of it. I try to keep it more like, well, there's Group A, and Group A seems to be kind of like us, like kind of share our values, right? Like they don't really
Mhm.
like throwing people off buildings for being weirdos and stuff like that. Like Group A is pretty much like us, and there's Group B that hates Group A and tries to kill Group A all the time,
Yeah.
and I'm like, it doesn't really matter the religion, color, where it is on the planet. It could be happening next door, but like I'm like, Group A needs to kick Group B's ass
And fast, because the world
and
doesn't have
fast
patience
and
for perfecting
effectively and
things.
stop this. That's where the conspiracy theories come in about like the military industrial complex and like all these wars being planned and orchestrated, because it's like
Well,
no one ever lets things get done like they used to get done. They're like
because
they're just like
people can't
we should make
stomach
this
it.
war last 100 years.
Yeah, but people can't stomach it. That's
But they've
I
also
mean,
been programmed not to, right? Because a
well,
hundred
yeah,
years
to an
ago
extent,
they stomached it 100 years ago for sure. Like
but they didn't see it. They maybe heard about it.
okay,
They maybe had fantasies
fair.
about it, but people didn't see them pulling the bodies of dead children out of rubble.
Are you sure? Because I think like 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 Civil War historians and like especially the Southerners will tell you a lot of things about like just the horrific things that
Yeah,
happened. Like
but there was the war
they saw some.
that if you were in it, you saw it. But if you were like removed from the front lines of it, you never saw it unless it was people around you getting killed. But you never
But
saw.
weren't the front lines back then weren't like a million miles away. They were like their town.
No, but if you're living in New York City, for example, you're not seeing the burning of Atlanta.
Okay. Yeah.
And even during World War
But if
II,
you live anywhere around Atlanta, you sure are. Like
well, yeah, but
you're seeing the
if you were
carnage.
seeing yourself get burned out, you were more talking about surrender as opposed to let's pressure the North to stop burning Atlanta.
Okay.
And I mean, even during World War II, the most we got were newsreels that were heavily edited by the government. I mean, we firebombed Dresden and Tokyo into oblivion. Do you think we could do that
Yeah.
today?
Oh no, yeah, yeah. I remember in high school in the 80s, like I had English professors talking to me about how horrible it was that we bombed Dresden. And I was sitting there like, eh.
Yeah, it helped
I've
win the
seen the
war.
John Wayne movies. Like it's like you fuck around, you find out, as they say nowadays. Like that's like we don't yeah. It was a different time where it was like take no prisoners. And yeah,
That's why
it's
I've, that's why I've said for a while now that free market democracies with access to 24/7 mass media are not suited to fight wars that are not wars of survival. They simply don't have the patience or the stomach for it. I mean,
yeah.
we've proven that over and over again. So, I, I the the best military will simply go in and do what it needs to do without getting the politicians or the reporters in the way. Unfortunately, they're in the way right now, and that's what I mean. A lot of the stuff in Gaza, one of the reasons why it's taking so long is Israel is going out of its way to protect civilian life. Problem is
For
that Hamas
public relations.
yeah, the problem is that Hamas has interwoven themselves into the population so completely that you can't extricate. I mean, you can't extirpate the fighters without also causing collateral damage to the civilians that Hamas is fine with you killing because they don't value life in the same way. They want to see a TV picture that can then persuade some poor sap in London or Berlin or New York to say, Israel, you bad, you need to stop that.
Yeah, Israel's got a real problem because they are going to war against con artists.
Yes. And if they could just ignore, the world pressure and go in there, I mean they are so
Well, I'm encouraged by this latest cycle, which I've seen so many cycles of this in my life. I'm encouraged by it because Israel does seem to be like, y'all, hey world,
yeah.
you're talking a lot of shit about us, but you're also not really looking. You're really also very distracted by all your problems, all your other problems. So we're just going to keep, we're going to get knee deep on these people,
Yeah. Well,
and you're going to allow it. And it's the different thing about this cycle is that the world has allowed Israel to go hard for a lot longer than usual.
well, that's because I think October 7th changed everything. It was the largest slaughter of Jews since the Holocaust. And that
Right.
changed the mindset, not just around the world, but it changed the mindset in Israel significantly. That's
Yeah.
why I knew they were going to go after Iran with a retaliatory strike. Although, if you've noticed, the rhetoric out of Iran today has been more downplaying and pretending that the attack didn't happen
Yep.
because they don't want to get
Mhm.
into a slugfest with Israel.
No, they would get, and that's what's so
Destroyed.
frustrating is we could end we could end them so fast. Israel could end them so fast, but I think the United States and Israel does this weird thing where we kind of keep our enemies alive and keep propping them up.
It's like fighting with one arm tied behind our back while blindfolded.
Well, to the
It's almost
soldier,
like there's
to the
profit margins.
yeah, to the soldier, that's very unfair. But to the complex, to the politicians, it's like, these like 30-year wars are really good. And then you hear things about history anyway. Yeah, it's like
Yeah, well,
these are
I'm just saying
perpetual
that,
wars that
but there's
when like most lay people have figured out, like you could end, hey everybody, you could end this, but our leaders are like, no, 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 no. We should keep this conflict going for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, or just forever. Because it's a really good business deal.
But
Like,
you also got to remember the human condition. There's all until the world ends. There's always going to be war because we're always fighting each other over everything.
yes,
Whether it's
sir. Yes, sir.
fighting to prevent extermination or fighting because we don't like what the Kardashians said. We're going to find
Yeah.
something to fight about.
We should try to understand ourselves with the goal to minimize the fighting, but at the same time, understanding that the human condition, as you said, because I'm real big on the human condition, the human condition is fighting, is humans getting pissed at others and wanting what they've got, right or wrong. Maybe it's right that they want what they've got. Maybe it's jealousy and wrong, but the human condition is strife and warfare. I said my son asked me a couple days ago if World War III was going to happen.
Tell him stop watching so much news, son.
It's everywhere, man. You
Show them the
can't
day after.
yeah, you can't let your kids out. But what I told him, what you said reminded me, like one of the first things I said to him was a quote from a poem, where the poet said, "Only the dead have seen the end of war."
That's true.
It's 100% true. I read that when I was in college, and I was like, "Wow," because up to that point, I was, kind of a, just a lucky dipshit.
So deep for like a middle schooler when you think about it, right? That's so deep.
Well, because I don't want to lie. I got a big thing, like maybe I should,
Yeah.
but I don't want to lie to my kids about
Because
this world.
No.
because they're going to eventually discover the truth and then they'll be pissed at you for
Yeah.
hiding it from them.
Exactly. Yes. My
Yeah.
dad did not lie to me. My dad didn't tell me a lot, but he exposed me to a lot that was
Yeah, same
uncomfortable.
here.
Yeah.
So I don't want to lie to him. So I want to tell him the truth. And then in my mind, I'm
That's
like,
so deep.
this motherfucker, Joe Biden, is going to get my son drafted. I'm not sure about that, but he's the guy that's most likely to and
Oh my gosh.
these weak people that
I say
are just
part of
perpetualizing war.
see, part of the problem also is that in a way it's Joe Biden and in a way it's not. And what I mean by that is I don't think Joe's all there and I don't think Joe's running the
Yeah,
show. I
correct.
think he's a puppet man who they've propped up. And
Thanks, Obama.
yeah, I mean,
100%.
could stuff still get involved? Absolutely, but Joe would be more of a conduit for stuff going down than anything else.
It's the weakness.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to tell my son is like when you have weak leadership, whether it's your dad, whether it's your school principal, whether it's your local police chief, or whether it's your president, like,
Hey, there was a
bad things happen.
one of the
Bad
most
things happen.
profound quotes that I ever heard in a movie came from a comedy. Did you ever see the Chevy Chase and Dan Aykroyd movie Spies Like Us?
Oh yeah.
No.
Okay.
Sure.
There
Yes.
was a quote in there from the generals that even though this is a comedy movie and they were playing the heavies was absolutely true. It said history proves conclusively that the naive wishing for peace is the surest possible way to encourage an aggressor. And that's
Yeah.
been absolutely true throughout history. One other tangent off of this. I don't know if y'all ever got, this is just a weird tangent, but it's kind of funny. I don't know if y'all ever got the chance to watch the Twilight Zone in the 80s, the 80s Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
A
No.
little
Yeah.
bit. A little
One
bit.
of my favorite episodes was entitled Dark Origins, I think.
Okay.
And it was about,
Sounds familiar.
people at the United Nations, and an alien ambassador appears, and he's like part of the master race that created humanity. And they're going to end the human experiment because we have this small talent for war. And the United Nations is saying, hey, wait a minute, give us a day to figure this stuff out. He's like, well, you've had like a couple thousand years. How are you going to solve it in a day? It's like, well, no, give us a day. And he's like, okay, our fleet's not going to be here for a day anyway, so sure, you got your day. And he comes back, and the United Nations is like, look, we've got this document proclaiming world peace. And he starts laughing at him and saying, no, dude, we weren't creating you to be peaceful. When I said you had a small talent for war, it's too small. We were creating warriors. We're looking for a bigger talent for war. You're not useful to us, so we're going to wipe you out.
I think yeah, that's brilliant. I think it's there's a duality, dichotomy, whatever, where it's like understanding that the human condition is we want to fight. We really want to find things to fight about, whether it's oil, wheat, space, your fence, your tree. Your tree is dropping leaves on we want to fight. But at the same time, we have to understand that we need to put systems in place where that mitigates that desire in us. And it makes me think of,
we're hierarchical and territorial.
yeah,
And
and it
those
makes
two
me
things
think
don't go
like
together very well.
it also makes me think like the concept of mutually assured destruction was a beautiful thing. Was a beautiful thing in humanity, where humans for a brief period of time were like, okay, we're in each other's faces. We both have loaded guns. We should think about this and all chill out a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think we did for like a minute. Like for a minute, we thought about that. But then everybody was like, this mutually assured destruction is some bullshit. Like, let's go.
Boring.
Let's go.
I've been saying for a while that
let's test it. Let's test this.
mutually assured destruction, the advent of nuclear weapons probably prevented World War III.
But then people now are like starting to think like, is that real? Like, what is that? What is that all about? Like, maybe we could just pop off and like knock them out. Maybe, it's like, no. That was a really good achievement in human history to realize that we could just all kill each other and we should probably chill out.
Of course, on the flip side, we also came, I don't know if you've ever seen how close we came to wiping each other out by accident on a few occasions.
I'm
Are you
sure
That's horrifying.
Well, the two that come to mind, one during the Cuban Missile Crisis, when
that was one I think about.
well, it wasn't just there was a Soviet sub that was trying to protect the freighters that were carrying the cargo, and an American destroyer was launching depth charges to try to bring it to the surface. And the captain of that sub wanted to launch a nuclear torpedo at an aircraft carrier group. It thought the war had already started because of this, but it required 3 people on the ship to agree to launch the weapon. The captain and the political officer agreed, but the first officer didn't. And so they didn't launch the nuclear torpedo, which obviously would have started, a full nuclear war. And then there was a 1983, I think, a guy named Colonel Stanislav Petrov in the Soviet Union was sitting at his radar station at like 2 in.the morning and got a missile warning of like six nuclear missiles being fired by the United States at the Soviet Union. Protocol said that he was supposed to notify his superiors, who, by the way, were already paranoid, thinking that Ronald Reagan was going to launch World War III. And what Petrov did was he's like, well, I'm going to sit tight because I think the U.S. would launch more than 6. And it turned out that it was like a reflection of the sun off the clouds had activated the radars. But imagine if he had actually passed up that there was 6 nuclear weapons on their way to the Soviet Union. That would have started it too. So,
yeah, I've heard those before. Yeah.
MAD works if you got people that understand it, but the potential for accidents also is very high.
Yeah, my point was more like the concept of it.
I agree.
Humans like getting to the concept to where like whoa, we're both really strong. We could both like kill each other with one punch. So we should probably like try to find a way to talk about things
Well,
and have channels.
we just wiped out
And
like 35 or 40 million people in the 1940s during World War II. So
yeah,
yeah.
it's like, and it's like, and that's why there are backdoor channels between generals and our army and their army, I'm sure, like where they have their cell phone numbers. Cause it's like, hey, you guys launching missiles? Like,
Yeah.
just tell me straight, bro.
Slide into the DMs.
Like I'm only seeing 6. So like, this is pretty weak. You're not launching missiles, are you? It's like, because nobody wants, like, because those generals all have kids and grandkids and no one wants them all to die. But it's like a concept. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, what you're saying is like one of the reasons that I believe in a higher power, that I believe in God, that I believe in my God is like that. Yeah, there are so many points in human history, in American, not only in human history, but in like specifically in American history, like points in the Civil War, World War II, where things could have gone another way very easily.
The exact right confluence of events happened.
Yeah, like things could have gone another way if like a radio call dropped or something, or if like the battery on some detector like just wasn't made properly. Things could have gone the other way and this world could be a lot different, but things always kind of went in our favor. Or so it seems, right? Because
Yeah.
we're big and Germany is small. We're big and rich and Russia is a fraction of us and a fraction of our wealth. And like it could have gone different if just there's there are a lot of moments in American history that, man,
There are all kinds of
the grace
inflection
of
points.
God, I think the grace of God.
Well, one of the earliest points of that was, I don't know if you're familiar with the retreat from Brooklyn Heights in New York, where the British were gonna, cross the river and end up wiping Washington off the map. I believe it was in December of 1776, I believe. And that night, an enormous fog bank rolled in
Yeah.
and just
Stuff like,
blanketed
yeah,
the
man.
area and
Yeah.
covered Washington's retreat.
Yeah, man. The grace of
Just
God.
little things like that.
That's something that, and I don't care if
What
it is
about the
fictional.
migrant who tried to stab that dude, the preacher, the other day, and he put up the cross and like it missed him, like his switchblade didn't open, like he just
Oh,
Well,
the
and
Assyrian
marred him to
prince?
death. Yeah.
Chris, are you familiar with General Order 191 from the Civil War?
No, or
Um,
not in that exact term, but yeah.
okay, well, this was the closest the United States ever came to being torn in two. Was the beginning of September of 1862. The Confederacy was launching invasions of Maryland and Kentucky, and there was a proposal on the table in Europe for Great Britain and France to offer mediation to the North and the South in the Civil War on the basis of Southern independence. And if the North refused, Britain and France would have outright recognized the Confederacy and used their navy to break the blockade. It would have ended the Civil War and the South would have won. But during this invasion in Maryland, Lee lost a copy of his invasion plan. It was wrapped around some cigars, and a Union private found a copy of the invasion orders, got it up to McClellan. That allowed McClellan to force the Battle of
It's
Antietam.
amazing.
And by forcing the Battle of Antietam and getting Lee to retreat out of Maryland back to Virginia, it let Lincoln issue the Emancipation Proclamation, which once that happened, Britain and France were never going to recognize the South as a separate nation with slavery.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, just that one small turn that
Yeah,
you
man.
can't predict that saved the Union at that point. So that's those kinds of small moments throughout history are fascinating to me.
Fascinating. Doesn't even like isn't even the word to capture it. It's just man, monumental. Those things. Yeah, that affects me. Like because I have I guess I have learned about that in another way, not as the order it was given as, but yeah, that's so many things like the fog bank, so many things, and then World War II as well. Like so many things just kind of at the right moment fell our way.
Yep.
So
But
I don't know.
it's
Maybe it's
matter.
just dumb luck, but I
I
think
believe
that
more in providence than dumb luck, but
yeah,
that's just me.
there's no such thing as chance.
I think there is, but I think God takes advantage of that chance in certain areas.
Well, then there
It's
is not. Then chance does not exist.
yeah, it's complicated in terms of the way I think about some of that stuff. So, how you define it
I'll
is
send you
there's
a book
probably
about
different
it.
shades.
Yeah, like
So, yeah,
there's just a certain book I read that really had an impact on me about like the human concept of um attributing something to chance
Yeah.
and how really absurd it is. Like, what is chance? What it like? Have you met chance? Like,
I saw the
what is
movie
it?
Taking a Chance.
And no one can say what chance is. But
there's Chance the Rapper.
but for you, yeah, that's true. But like he likes the Sprite, but and the Doritos, but like no one can say what chance is. But we've attributed so much of human history to it.
You
Kind of
know,
crazy.
Or has so much of human history just been told to us?
well, I mean, I'm more a believer in the world's more chaotic than we want to believe. Um, just because I think it's comforting for us to have a more orderly view of the world in terms of
Sure.
human control of the world. Not necessarily, I'm not talking about God's control of the world, but there are also inflection points that adversely can affect history. The one I think of all the time is Gavrilo Princip, and he affected the next 100 years when Archduke Ferdinand took a wrong turn and Gavrilo Princip was having a sandwich at a cafe and saw a target of opportunity to assassinate an archduke, and that led
Mhm.
to World War One, which led to the destruction of the Ottoman Empire, the rise of Adolf Hitler. It affected everything for 100 years after that, just because some dude took a wrong turn and ran into somebody that hated him.
Dude,
Great point.
only had GPS then.
But could you imagine what they would have done with that kind of stuff?
We didn't have GPS 20 years ago.
I know.
Like we're like,
I
I
know.
guess maybe
Oh
that's
my gosh.
but it's like,
I did.
Best
I
you could
did.
do was a
I had
compass.
like, oh yeah, he did, but
I did in the army, but that
you had
was
strapped to
Right.
you. But like,
but my GPS was really big. It looked like one of those massive iPads.
I was like, when I had to go to like down like DC to like the passport office, I was whipping out a freaking like a multiple
Thomas
fold
Guide.
map in my car. Like,
Oh yeah.
What
Well,
was the name of the book? What was the
The
name of the
Thomas
book?
Guide.
The Thomas Guide. Oh my God, when I was brand new real estate agent, I had my Thomas Guide. I would like map out the maps to go in between people's
well,
houses. Ugh,
whenever
what a
we would go,
nightmare.
whenever I'd go to get orders for a new city, one of the first things I'd do is buy one of those road the city road atlases. That I could look stuff up
yeah,
and
it's like
figure out where I was
it's
going.
laminated and it's like,
Yeah.
folds up nice and
Yep. Of
neat.
For sure.
Yeah, I've bought one of
That's
those in the last
funny.
20, 25 years, but
course, then again, I used to have a landline too, and I don't anymore either.
yep.
I'm sure there's a
Whatever
Although
happened to
Think
Coop?
Choops. Yeah, I was gonna
I
say,
don't
do you
know, I
think his
haven't heard from him.
computer
I sent
died?
him a
His
couple of
computer must
texts.
have died, right?
I don't know, I sent him a
Stroke?
couple of texts. I don't know what the deal is. I'm kind of concerned. I hope he isn't, something didn't happen or he didn't get like, super annoyed at something. So I've sent him an email. I mean, a
No.
text. I hope everything's all right.
Yeah, me
I can
too.
be really annoying. I'm sorry. I apologize in advance. I'm
I
sorry,
don't think
y'all.
that was it, but I just
And
no.
it's
I just want to make sure, I
possible.
just sent him a text like, "We cool,
It's
everything good.
possible.
What's going on?" I'm sure something's
I don't
up.
think it was
I
you, Quana,
know.
but I don't rule it out,
I know. I don't rule it out. It's
I'm
almost
kind of a scientist.
always.
Just
Well,
kind of a
Quana, you've always
scientist.
made me, leave the group several times by now.
I
So I mean,
know. I know. I
you know
know.
how
I love
you
when
know how
I
easy
know,
I
I
am to
love when
offend.
I full grown men just get rubbed the wrong way by me. It's so funny. Oh,
You know how easy I am to offend.
anyways. Well, I hope
So
he's okay.
Yeah. Shout out to
yeah, I guess
Coop.
we'll
Maybe
find out. I mean,
he's
if I haven't heard from him by the time I go to bed, maybe I'll hear from him by the morning because I have a couple of friends that like to send memes at all hours of the night, and so I actually put my phone
Nice.
on silent and turn it upside down so it's not waking me up.
Yeah,
smart
for
man.
sure.
I love my buddies,
I do
but you know
too.
what? It gets on my nerves sometimes.
Yeah. I have grown kids that don't live in my home and I sleep on silent. So I'll deal with it in the morning. You
I'm
wouldn't want
more
me to deal
like
with it at
the
2 o'clock anyways.
I'm
Yep.
glad you told me this because now I can start sending you memes at 2 o'clock because that's me.
Oh, for
That's what
sure. For
that's what I like to
sure.
do with my time in the middle of the night.
I knew that about you. You're a night owl who just, looks for dirty memes to send.
Pretty much,
This
yeah. I do it in
this
the
is the
morning
only
too.
night that I stay up late. Otherwise, by 8:30, 9 o'clock, I'm already asleep. So if you're
Yeah, I'm
sending
I
me
usually
stay
to
in
up way
bed
too late.
before by 9:30 to 10. I mean, I'm usually in bed because I'm, an old man and I love to sleep.
I love to wake up early. I wake up like at 6:30. I love like the morning. So if you
It's too
sacrifice the
early.
night
One of
for
my
the
qualms
morning,
about both growing older and having a set schedule in the army for so long is the fact that I really cannot sleep in anymore. For me, if I'm in bed, if I'm still in bed at 6:30 or 6:45, I've slept in.
yeah,
Wow.
same.
Mine is
Same.
more like just my, kids, and
Yeah.
like they won't let me sleep late. But I don't care. I like to party, so I don't care what night of the week it is.
My girls have
Yeah.
learned the art of my girls have learned the art of sleeping late over the last couple of years.
Oh, it is nice. Like I got a 12-year-old who's starting to like sleep late, and it's like, oh, that's really nice. Can't wait.
Yeah. It's
Can't wait.
good. That's good.
I kind of can't wait. There's gonna be like a sweet spot where all my kids sleep the day away for like
Yeah.
a week
Yeah.
or two until I start getting real angry about it.
These
Yeah.
lazy
And you're like, get
fuckers.
out of bed, you
Yeah, like
lazy
yeah,
motherfuckers.
you good for nothing.
My oldest actually gets up and leaves the house by about 7:30 in the morning to get to her job, where she works as a grocery cashier
How
all
Nice.
day on
satisfying
Saturday.
is that, man?
My
How
daughter did that too. It was a great
oh
job.
man,
Union
that's
job.
gotta be
So
a
good.
that's gotta be a good feeling. Like that's gotta be I don't because I'm not there yet, but that's gotta be a good feeling when you're like, wow, I raised a fully
Functioning.
grown up, fully functioning human being that
Yeah.
can
Oh,
like
yeah, no,
get up
yeah,
on their own. And
she takes initiative, she does all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, she's got some other stuff that she's had to basically be doing since she was younger because of some health issues. But yeah, she's up, on Saturdays by about 6:30. She out the door by 7:30. She's got about a 25-minute drive to get to her job by 8, and she's there until 5.
it's a weird thing, but
Love
like
it. It's a good business
I've been
too.
very lucky and my kids haven't had any of this kind of stuff, but like you almost kind of like there's like a sweet spot for your kids having a little bit of like adversity early in their life.
Yeah.
Not like life threatening, but like something that,
Well, they have to fail to learn how to pick themselves back up.
like something that happens that like where they realize like a little bit of survival, a little bit of like just like a real world hits them a little early, like not in a scary way. And like, but it's like, yeah, but yeah, obviously you
Well,
don't want any
maybe
kind of
maybe in a
thing.
way, maybe in a way that they think is scary, but you're kind of without them knowing about it, you're kind of like their backup or their safety net, so that
Mhm.
it's not actually, you know,
Yeah, you
too
don't want
much.
if the first time your kid is scared is 22, it's
Yeah,
like
that's bad.
Yeah.
you fucked up. You fucked up real bad. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. If your
Yeah.
kid's at college and like is afraid, is like devastated by opposing viewpoints, like,
No,
yeah,
you got to make them do hard things. You
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 did bad.
have to. You
Yeah,
really, really have to.
my thing with my kids has always been I've always tried to tell them I don't not going to tell you. I mean, I hope that you're looking at me and your mom and modeling some stuff, but I'm not going to tell you what to believe. My only point of insistence is that you understand why you believe what you believe. Have you sat down and thought
Mhm.
about it? Because I've
Yeah.
sat down and thought about most of the things that I believe. If I mean, I know that especially like on Facebook, I may come across as a bit of an ass sometimes because I'm fairly assertive with what I say. But if
Barely
you
Yeah.
80% of
notice,
the time, barely 80%.
but if you notice, if there's something that I don't know about, I won't comment on it because I've not actually thought about it. So it's either you get the full me or you get nothing, and people don't usually notice the nothing. I tell my girls, think about it. Take some time, sit down and think through why you believe it, and be willing to say that you don't have enough information to make the decision.
There's
Yeah,
nothing better that happens to a hard man than some daughters. Like, literally, like you
yeah,
guys,
yeah,
it just kind of makes you have to look at all the sides of it, you know? It's good. It's good for
that's
you
for
guys.
sure.
It's good and it's good for the daughters too. It's good for the daughters too.
Yeah, I'm very lucky because it has, opened up a whole new world of understanding and or trying to understand things. And yeah, anyway, for my kids, I'm really focused on. I really am very afraid. I don't want to tell my kids what to think, how to think. I just want my kids to understand how the world works
Yeah.
and then form their opinions from that. If you believe that America, if you understand how the world works truly, and you believe that America should be giving $100 billion to Ukraine, okay.
Well, one of
Disagree,
the my daughter's dual enrollment
disagree,
English
but
class.
you
My daughter's dual enrollment English class. They were supposed to pick a controversial topic and do a full research paper on it. And what my oldest selected was why transgender athletes should not be competing in women's sports.
Nice.
You know,
Crazy.
and that's kind of a controversial thing, to take that particular point of view nowadays, even though it's
Mhm.
not actually controversial to anybody who got common sense. But
Right.
she's like, hey, men don't need to be competing with women, and she's writing an entire, college paper based on that. But fortunately, she also now, in fairness, she also goes to a private Christian school, and even though it's a dual enrollment class and it's a college professor from, the local university, they're not going to let some schmo into there. But I'm glad that she's getting that, getting that done so that she
Yeah.
knows how to back up those kinds of positions.
Yeah. Like, and also like watch, even though you go to a Christian school, like watch how the world comes at you when
Oh
you
yeah,
talk about common
Sure.
sense. Just watch.
Sure.
Watch how your friends come at you when you start spouting off common sense type stuff, like
yeah.
stuff that was
Common
true
sense
that
ain't
we
all that
knew,
common.
things we knew 10 years ago. Yeah. Watch how they turn on you. Like one of the things I talked to my son about Trump, and I always tell him like, this man is he's a very flawed person, just like everyone, just like all humans. But is that like, he was very popular.
He was
Like,
so popular. Like you can't even believe it. I have so many Facebook posts that are like, "Oh my God, The Apprentice." Like
yeah.
I have loved Trump since Oprah. I love when he went on David Letterman. He was always so charismatic. I loved when he was in Elle magazine. I love when he was in the back of Cosmo.
Hell, what the
I
fuck?
like
I
I
think it's
was a maggot.
very,
I like
yeah.
yeah,
I think it's very
I love
bad.
all of them.
I think it's very bad, but I don't tell them that this is very bad how we do these things. I just tell them like, you need to understand that there was a time in 2015 where
Yeah.
the entire world didn't think this man was a monster. This entire world was trying to have him on their show, was trying to have
It's
him on their
so
sitcom, was trying to have him in cameos in movies.
no one
Uh,
ever cared about politics. Like I grew up in Sacramento, so Sacramento, like you kind of understand politics. It's capital of California. It's a big place. Like you understand it growing up here. They insert it into school and stuff. I cannot tell you that I have long-term friends that I've been friends with since I'm 12 years old. I had no idea what their politics were until just a couple years ago. Like
until
literally no
2016.
idea. No idea.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
just it's wild.
I've
Wild.
said
And that's not one, like lots of friends, lots and lots of friends. But I had no idea what they
Yeah, he
thought
was
I've
about
seen
me.
that over the
like,
last few years, but I still
it's
think
amazing.
I still make the assertion that the country broke not in 2012 or 2016, but the country broke in the year 2000. The year 2000 election is where the country truly got divided with the Florida recount, with the Supreme Court cases, with
The
everything like that.
Chads, the hanging Chads.
That's
Yeah,
where
man, you're
people
100%
started,
right. Like
yeah,
9/11 like distracted us from that
for about
2000.
2 months. Yeah,
Yeah,
for
nine
about two
eleven
months it
really.
distracted us, but then we went back to, hey, you on the other side, you're evil, I hate you, you want to kill kids. And
No, I
It's
mean, like,
all
yeah,
so
like, so you're saying 2 months in that, like, it kept us from going at each other's throats for 2 months. But I'm thinking,
yeah,
like, it's really, in the historical point of view, the fact that 9/11 happened, a year later, I guess, about a
yeah,
year later, whatever it was, not even
roughly.
that.
one day
Not about
later
10
after
months later.
they
But,
had all that missing
hot,
money.
um, like, because that was such a huge historical event, it kind of overshadows the fact that in 2000 there was like a major Supreme Court case about presidential elections. People were having, like, I remember being at lunch in 2000. Yeah, I remember being at lunch arguing with coworkers about the Electoral College.
Yeah.
So it set the stage for this whole modern view of the Electoral College as a antiquated old thing that was stupid. And I think we're kind of lucky that it still is around today, because in 2000 people were talking about getting rid of the Electoral College.
Yeah, but the
They're
small
talking
states,
about it now too, but it's like,
yeah, but it's never going to happen because the small states won't vote for it. You got to get the set
yeah,
number of
yeah, but
states.
it's more like it will never happen, but the fact that so many of our fellow citizens think that it's garbage is like very bad for us. It's very
Yeah.
bad for the fabric of our nation that people are looking at these things that were the electoral college is a brilliant thing. It's a brilliant thing. But they look at it now as like these old slave owning rubes didn't know what they were talking about. They were stupid. They thought that, they thought the earth was, they just like, again, postmodernism, deconstructing everything we thought we knew. Bad.
Well, but it's also the fact that prior to the 2000 election, for the most part, and definitely through the electoral college, we really didn't have very many close elections. And we definitely didn't have ones that were that close. It's almost like when you're watching the Super Bowl and the team you're rooting for loses on a field goal in overtime or something. I mean,
After a dodgy penalty call.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
that creates a lot of anger.
it's one of those like I can't believe we lost by just that. You'd almost rather face a blowout. In politics, you'd almost rather have somebody get 400 electoral votes because then everybody's like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. But when it comes down to 500 votes in one state and it takes a month to count them, that's going to create some angst when people are like, we should have had those 500 votes and you cheated us because it wasn't a blowout.
There's a reason why so many NFL fans that actually watch the NFL, like actually like kind of hate the NFL, like fucking
Yeah.
hate the NFL. And it's like we need to be careful in America because it's like there are a lot of Americans that are just like
Fuck this
we're
country.
playing we're playing along, but at some point there's too many Americans that are just like we're playing along, but we'd like to kill the referee. It just
Yeah.
we're like there's just so much. It's not good. It's not good.
Well,
But
I mean,
to add to your point, yeah, 2000 is where it began, where people started to really question the Constitution, the electoral. Not, I'm sure they did before, but like
accept the validity of the results.
in real big ways. Also, like there's part of a like in real life, what happened on that election day was like there was only 500 votes, so it's like the lawyers,
Oh, yeah.
armies of lawyers went to Florida and made a lot of money. A lot of TV pundits made their bones at that point.
Mm-hmm.
I always like to point out for that period that
Yep.
Morning Joe, the supposed
Yeah.
Republican
Mm-hmm.
conservative face of MSNBC's
Joe
morning
Scarborough.
show. That guy is such a piece of garbage.
Bro.
Well,
Such
he's
a
a
piece
simp.
of
He's a simp.
he's such a piece of human filth that like he doesn't like I remember when he made his name. He made his name in 2000 simping, if you will, or like going
If you will.
full hog for Republicans, for George Bush. Joe Scarborough in 2000 was talking about how evil Democrats were trying to steal an election. That's when he made his name.
Yeah, but he's simped himself to Mika Brzezinski
Oh,
now.
he's a complete piece of garbage.
He's let his wife dictate his politics. He does anything to get laid. So I mean, he's a soy boy. That's all he is now.
Yeah, man, that guy's been. But that's how he made his name. That's why Joe Scarborough is Morning Joe's because of the 2000 election, and he was a hardcore conservative Republican, calling Democrats
Yep.
all the names in the book. And look at man, it's like a Keith Olbermann story almost. It's almost as bad as Keith Olbermann.
Who knew how crazy Keith Olbermann was when he was calling baseball games on ESPN?
He was one of the best Sports Center
Yeah, he absolutely was.
Hosts ever. Like him and Craig Kilborn at that time, that was
Going
gold.
back to what Quana said, it's nobody knew what his politics were because he didn't share them at that time.
Yeah, no one knew he had a screw loose. Like he was just
Yeah.
chemically imbalanced, pretty much.
He's got more than one screw loose. He's got a few of them.
He's got all kinds of neurons just firing in the wrong direction.
Yeah, it's disheartening to see what it's like, but that's why I would like to see an election that's a blowout at some point. I don't know
You think
if
it'll
that's
happen this
possible
year?
now,
In a few
minus some
months?
kind of massive event.
I wouldn't be surprised. Well, there's not a lot of things. I wouldn't be surprised if Trump wins handily in November.
I think Trump can win. I think it's a very tight race. The fact that it's so tight says more about how shitty Joe Biden is than how good Donald Trump is. But I also know that if Trump wins, it's not going to be, handily. We're talking it's
Yeah,
going to be a
that's
razor thin margin again. Um,
I think that it could be an electoral college blowout. Popular vote is going to be real tight,
I
but I
think
think it could be an electoral college blowout.
I
Isn't
gamed
that
this
what
out
they
the
said
most.
that Robert Kennedy's goal is to take it to like something that's never happened
Yeah, well,
Uh,
before?
I actually gamed this out a couple times. The most Trump can get, and this is if literally everything breaks his way, is 319. 319 electoral votes is the most he can get. You're probably looking more around 310, 311,
what did he get against Hillary? Like 370 or something?
308 or 309.
Oh, so it'd be like more.
Yeah, but you're talking about like two or three. It's not that big of a difference.
Well,
If he
the
win
electoral
like
college is weird because it's like it can be close, but also be a blowout because it was
yeah,
never really, it's like it's
but
kind
there's
of
only unlike before, there's only a handful of states in play anymore.
correct.
I
Yep,
mean,
5 or 6.
most states, we know where Texas is going to vote. We know where California is going to vote. The
Hmm.
only states that are up for debate are, Wisconsin, Michigan, Georgia,
Georgia,
Arizona,
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania,
Pennsylvania's gone
Nevada.
Biden now.
It's about 100 electoral votes that are up in the air, and the candidates are tied about 220 each. Other than that, of course, one of the great scenarios, just to see how it would truly fuck up the nation, is if they ended in a 269 tie, which is possible.
Oh yeah, be a run on ammo. There'll be a run on
Uh,
ammo.
that would kick the election to the House, which would
Yeah,
be really fun, especially when you consider that people don't even understand that if the election gets kicked to the House, it's not one vote per representative, it's one vote per state delegation. So
yeah,
California has the same number of votes in that election as Wyoming.
yeah. That's where the whole like the brick that was knocked out of the wall in 2000, where
Yep.
people start to question like the validity of
Hmm.
our
All the things.
Constitution. Yeah, when that kind of thing happens and the Congress has to decide and the Congress is Republican barely and they decide that like it Trump's the guy, then like the purple hairs go crazy, start setting themselves on fire in the streets and start.
Oh my
I can help them.
gosh.
But to your point, like I
All day
think
long.
to to I think you kind of brought up a point and also like your own counterpoint at the same time, which is like even if Trump wins handily this time, like that's not going to be a mandate as it has been in the
No.
past. It's going to be like, in fact, it's the opposite. The more Trump wins by, the angrier they're going to be. Yeah. Yeah. It's not good.
Yeah.
Prepare your kids,
I'm
everybody.
here to watch it burn.
Yeah. Uh,
I
I
look.
have a
I live in a
hard,
red state and I live in a red area, and I'm well armed. I'm not concerned for myself.
yeah, I'm not concerned for myself either. Yeah.
If
But
I was
I
to live
am,
like around
I'm concerned
Atlanta,
for like what life's going to be like when I'm dead and my children are like 50.
yeah, I'm concerned about that too. But I'm glad that, you know, my oldest, when she goes off to college, she's actually going to study something that, is useful.
Yeah.
As a, you know, that was always my deal with her was, I'm not going to tell her what to major in, but I have veto power if I'm paying for it, and it's not going to be a underwater fire prevention degree. It's going to actually need to have some kind of merit somewhere.
I think there can be a shift in that on that. Like I think there can be a shift in America where people start seeing the Ponzi scheme, kids start seeing the bullshit,
Those
and
are not
they're
sticking their hand out asking me to pay for it.
yeah, like kids start seeing it. Like I see it in my kids' generation where they're just like they're looking at stuff like this is crazy. Like they're looking at stuff like we have an open border. Like they're looking at things from a kid's point of view, like we have an open border and they're just letting millions of people in.
Yeah.
A 12-year-old is like, that's not a country.
Well,
I'm
that's
learning
it.
about history in school, and like borders are kind of an integral part of having a country. So
Well,
like they're looking at it like this is something's not right here.
Well, everything I'm reading is that this generation of young people, look, young people in general are more liberal than they're conservative. But on the whole, this particular young generation is more conservative than any generation since the World War II generation was young.
I think there's like a pragmatism in there too,
Yep.
and like why does my teacher have purple hair and want to talk to me about?
Yeah. Why do they want? Look, when I was growing
Like
up,
we don't like when I was a kid, like kids don't want grown-ups talking to them about grown-up stuff. Like they're
well,
like,
look,
why are you
when
what are
I
you
was
talking to
at,
me about for, weirdo?
yeah,
Like, what are
when I
you
was in school, I didn't even really understand that my teachers were married. The only time I even had an inkling of it was I went to a when I was in junior high and I went to the one of the my junior high's basketball games and my drama teacher brought her baby uh her toddler with her to the basketball game. That was the first time it registered to me at all that she was married and had any children
She
because
has
they
a
every
didn't
life
now
even
and
talk
outside of
about
then
it.
school.
yeah, every now and then my elementary school teachers would like mention their adult sons who are accountants.
Yeah,
And it's
and
like, what?
like
Like
you
what?
didn't
Because
have sex, you
they were
kind of
all
were
old.
there.
They were
Yeah.
just old.
Yeah,
And
it made
they
no
had grown
sense that
up
they
kids.
had outside lives, and now every teacher, not, or a lot of the teachers, feel like they gotta let us know not only what their lives are, but how they conduct them. Yeah, it's
I'm just saying, like all my teachers in elementary school were like married women with that were old and had children.
yeah,
All of the teachers that I worked in their classrooms from K through 12th grade of my daughter's high school, literally, I didn't know anything about them. I worked in their classrooms. They seemed matronly. They seemed caring about children. I didn't know if they had husbands. I don't know if they had kids, if they were lesbians. I didn't know anything about them. Nothing. Like I just worked in their classrooms, like, and that was not as long ago as when we were kids. Yeah, this is brand
Yeah.
new. All of it's brand new.
A lot of
All of
my
it's brand
sons,
new.
a lot of my kids' teachers are like when I go to the open house and I see the teachers kind of old, like maybe they're 40s, I'm just like, good. A lot of
Sign
them are
of
like
relief.
24 and they just got married and like it's like my son's in kindergarten
Their
and
40s aren't old though. It's like there's also
I
maybe
know,
a
but
little
like you're just like
crazy.
you'll accept it. Like you'd like them to be in their 50s and like be real veterans of this world, but like you'll take 30s and 40s because like a lot of my son's teachers are like 24 and they're like changing, they're getting married. They're getting married and like while they're teaching and they're changing their name. And it's like,
yeah.
hold on, I thought your teacher's name was Miss Smith. No, 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 it's Miss Warner now. And I'm
Yeah,
like, what?
my youngest,
It's
one of
very
her teachers,
different.
is
It's
in
very
her
different.
late 20s, I guess, or mid to late 20s, and just has only been married for a few years. And I'm like, like 20 years ago, you would have been on a field trip coming out to where I was conducting a rifle range or something. I mean, I was going to war 20 years ago, and 20 years ago, you were in second grade.
Yeah. It's it's
Time's
different.
weird.
Like I want I don't I try to like keep an open mind that maybe it's not a bad thing, but it's like I don't know. Like my teachers had
Seemed
children that had
older.
already they had children that had already gone to college.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So they
Again,
had some
I
like
barely knew that my teachers had children because they really didn't talk about them. When I was in third grade, one
they
of my
didn't, but it was
friends,
just but they would have a picture and you would just know that because there'd be a picture on your teacher's desk with your teacher with a grown ass man that's her son.
I
It's
wish
like,
that Coop
oh.
hadn't dropped off this call because I would trauma dump on him so hard, but you guys, I
Shout
gotta
out to
go.
Coop.
But you're right. They didn't talk about it, but
Shut-
you just kind of knew that they were established citizens and not
yeah, but
like
they were kind of amorphous
Totally.
blobs of whatever they were. They weren't necessarily uh, relatable people that you actually put that stuff on.
but when
Right.
you like people that are that age and that have that they are authorities.
Yes.
And a 24-year-old that's like talking to her kindergarten class about how she's planning her wedding.
That's
Nah,
Yeah.
real.
that's not they're no, they're not
There's no
authorities on
reason.
life. They're not authorities.
There's the puppy. It's a big puppy. It's gonna be a big dog.
For real, dude.
Yeah. He's 95 days old today. I've had him
Yeah.
for 5 weeks.
Boy,
Can't
that's gonna
return
be a
them at
big
this
dog.
point.
I wish my dog was on my side, you know.
Oh,
Oh,
it's
well.
because you got one of the, what do you call him? A used dog.
A used ass dog.
A certified
I got
pre-owned.
I'm gonna have to go
Yeah.
let my dogs out here shortly for
Not even
bathroom.
certified. Not even
Fucking
certified, man.
pre-owned dog.
This is one of those dogs you pay weekly. You know what I mean?
Lease to own.
And then you call the general for insurance on this dog. Anyway,
I think it's a
We're
good
probably
food
running
today.
low here now.
yeah,
All right, I
let's
wonder
get
if we'll
going.
be, yeah. Happy Friday.
I'll let y'all know what Coop says. Hopefully everything's all right.
Yeah,
If it's
I hope
me,
so.
I apologize in advance.
Nah, he
Yeah,
would've
apology
said
accepted
something-
on
he
his
would've said something on
behalf. It's
text, so
probably
I don't
was
know what
you.
the deal is. I'll find out.
It probably
Whatever.
was you. I'll accept your
It's-
apology.
It's hard to be me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know I'm a lot.
Yeah. I
It
mean,
was a
imagine
pleasure,
having to
though.
You
deal
guys
with
should be
you.
sorry for my husband. Like I'm a lot
Yeah,
in
see,
real life too.
You may think
What do you mean
it's
should
a
be?
lot
I
to
am.
be
Like,
you, but it's a
I
lot to deal
I
with
know.
you.
I know you are.
think about it all the time. Like, man, like, what can how can I
He's a
help?
strong motherfucker.
Yeah. It's like send him some earplugs or I don't know, like
Strong weed, whatever. I don't know.
Strong weed, yeah,
a
strong
bottle of
weed. But
whiskey.
he's also no, he doesn't make he's just strong. All right, guys.
All right,
Happy
guys. Y'all have a
Friday.
good
Cheers.
weekend.
Take care, everybody.
Pleasure.
All right.
All right.